Today we'll be reviewing the anesthesia workflow from the anesthesiologist's point of view in HST chart. The page we're seeing is called the schedule page. On the schedule page, we have a couple of features that will help you identify both the patient, the anesthesia type, and where they are in the continuum of care. As the patient moves through the continuum of care, the color of the background of the appointment will change. So at a glance, any user will be able to say where the patient is during their stay at your surgery center. The bold green line on the right-hand side indicates the anesthesia type. You will set these colors up during your implementation process. You'll also see on this page, there are several other tabs. If you wanted to search for a patient, it would be in the search tab. If you wanted to see more information about the patients today, you can find them in the patient locator. The patient locator will not just have the patient's name, sexual identity, the patient's name, their medical record number, and their age. It will also show scheduled room and surgical scheduled time. The anesthesia type, along with the color, is in the next column. And then there is the patient status. The status can be, many statuses can be set up by your surgery center. We also have some hard-coded statuses in there as well. The color, whether it be red or black, can also be assigned by your surgery center. The next column will show the area that the patient is located, the duration, how long the patient has been there, and any staff that has been currently assigned to that patient. That makes it much easier for you to be able to find the caregiver who will be in charge of that patient and give them any information that you need to. And if you have it set up, it will also have the bay or the cubicle where your patient is currently residing. Task Manager is the fourth tab you'll see. In this tab, any parts of the chart of previous cases that you have not completed will show up in your Task Manager. If you left a blank, if a verbal order was added that you have not yet signed, this task will be in your Task Manager tab. The center can also assign a chart for peer review for you. If you tap the peer review hyperlink, it will display a PDF of the chart that they want you to review. The chart is indexed for you, and you are able to quite easily see the pages and the areas for you to complete your review. It has the entire chart and what information is in that chart. It opens in a new tab for you. Once you complete that, you can just mark that task as done, and it will disappear from your task list. If you have an incomplete workflow and you tap on that hyperlink, it will take you to the patient, to the workflow, to the block that you have to complete. Once you complete it, that task will also drop off your task list. You'll notice that there is a paperclip. The paperclip next to the chart indicates that there are documents attached. If you tap and hold, you'll be able to see what documents are attached. This is also where your front desk will check your patient in. Let's get to the meat of eChart. If you have your preferences set up, tapping on the patient in the schedule page will bring you directly to the anesthesia workflow and directly to the blocks that you want to complete for that workflow. Each chart is designed in a series of blocks. Each of these blocks are stacked in the order that your surgery center chooses for the best continuation of flow. Each chart is designed tablet first, so you'll be able to hold your tablet, portrait, or landscape, and the screen in front of you will resize automatically. It also utilizes the image capture feature of tablets and allows you to have your patient image in the upper left corner of the header. This is important because each chart allows you to have as many charts open as you need to work on. It allows multiple people in the charts at the same time. So let's go through a few standard blocks. Document display, that H&P that we talked about, is now a hyperlink in your workflow. You can tap on it. It will open in a new browser tab for you to see that H&P without losing your place or having to navigate anywhere. This information was attached in Document Central. Therefore, this block wants you to know this information came from somewhere else. That is what the blue triangle means. When you check the blue triangle, you'll get a green check mark. In the chart header, you'll see the 10% in the upper right corner. This is your completion indicator. Each block has a completion indicator, and this will show you the blocks in your workflow and which ones are complete. As you complete each block, your indicator will increase in percent. The next block is the NPO status. This status was filled in by the pre-op nurse when the patient arrived in her area. This information, anywhere this block lives, the information will flow with it. One of our goals in eChart is to decrease the need for duplicate data entry. If you found that this information was incorrect, you can absolutely edit that information with the simple click of a button. As you see, we got our green check. We're now at 15%. If this patient received any in-house labs, like urine pregnancy test, INR, any blood glucose, any of these exams, the results will appear here for the ordering provider to review. When there are no tests, you can just simply check the box. Anesthesia history is optional. If your center has their own anesthesia history that you would like, it can be built by your super users for your center in a block that we call the questionnaire. But let's go over this block. It is hard-coded by HST, and you can fill in the information. The pre-op nurse already asked the patient if they had any previous surgeries. That information flowed immediately into this anesthesia history. We're going to say that they did have some sedation for that procedure. There were no complications. There's no family history of complications and no family history of malignant hypothermia. This is where you would address the patient's review of systems. No cardiovascular history, no pulmonary history. Maybe we say that this patient has some GERD and they have a little bit of arthritis. This button is called the Me button. When you tap this button, your credentials as the logged in user will automatically fill in this field. If you did not complete a field, the system can tell you what's missing, why you don't have your green check. So in the corner of this block, there is a red minus. If you tap on the red minus, it will tell you that the status for hemologic must be selected and the performed by must be tapped. The red asterisks point you to the field. As I complete it, that requirement is removed. Once I complete it all, I get my green check. The anesthesia preoperative physical assessment meets all of the CMS and AAAHC Joint Commission requirements for preoperative physical assessment. You've reviewed the H&P and the home meds. There is a regular heart rhythm. The lungs are clear, or whatever they are. Respiratory effort, level of consciousness. The oral cavity, the patient's dentition. Perhaps they have caps. What is their Mallampati score? Their neck mobility, and finally, their ASA score. This is where you would type in or select from the drop-down your primary anesthesia and perhaps your secondary. This is your planned anesthesia. You'll see later that if plans change, you'll be able to change that in a different block. Performed by, I get my green check. Consent for anesthesia will have your words for your center. We help you design that and build that, and you'll be able to edit it by yourselves for any future changes. I'm going to have the patient sign that they understood everything you said directly on the tablet. You could see that the nurse signed as the witness, and the physician will tap and sign as the provider. Anesthesia orders. As long as no user has signed off on any of the users, in other words, your pre-op nurse has not signed any of these orders, you're able to change them on the fly to another set of orders should you want to. For example, if this case was a spinal, you could change it to spinal anesthesia if you have those orders built, but we're going to leave it at general. This order set is designed by your center. You'll sign it in one place. The system will separate the pre-op and the PACU orders and send them to each respective workflow. Each chart is designed based on workflows. Each user should not have to leave their workflow to complete all the required documentation that they have. To sign the orders, you can select only those orders that you wish to sign. For example, if you only want to sign the pre-op orders, you can select those. If you want to remove an order, for example, the urine HCG is not important for this patient, so we are going to delete that order. It is that simple. We're going to go ahead and sign those pre-op orders. We're going to delete the intra-op order. With the touch of a button, you can now see that the orders change white and have a lock when they've been signed. When you have a medication order in eChart, you can rest assured that the system does a complete med allergy check for all of the patients once their allergies have been entered and reviewed into the system. Anytime a new allergy is added, a new home medication is added, or a new medication order is added, the system will repeat the med check. If you wanted to see the status of that med check, it's going to say no issues with a green check. It's going to say have a yellow triangle if you have caution, and it's going to have a red exclamation point for an allergy or a true med-med interaction. Once you sign, your name will appear in signing provider. You will not see your name on this line. That is because if any further orders are added, or when you choose to sign the PACU orders, you need to have a blank space to do that. But the said signature history is kept here. You'll also see here that you can have hidden orders. Hidden orders are used if you have a secondary or a tertiary pain or nausea medication that you don't want to have display right at the beginning. You can have those hidden in the background, and then if you wanted to use them, you could show them and perhaps sign off on that dotted. I'm going to hide any unsigned orders, and you see it hid the unsigned orders except standing orders. Standing orders are unable to be hidden because they act as if they have already been signed. So we will hold on to those hidden orders in case we need them later. HST in the start block has built in some hard stops. This concerns a warning that a consent has not been signed. Now we know that we signed the anesthesia consent, but the surgical consent is still unsigned. It also tells you that the H&P attestation is not signed by the provider. We allow you to override these alerts because emergencies occur and you'll need to override them, but there is a report over on the practice management side that administration can run to see when and by whom this hard stop was overridden. I'm going to go ahead and override it today so that we could put in a start time. If your surgery center uses CRNAs and you are in a state where they are not independent providers, when the CRNA puts in their name, the supervising provider will also put in their name. The information from this anesthesia start time populates both the practice management case history fields. It also populates the staff block that you'll see in this workflow. Prophylactic antibiotic administration is its own block. That is because we track this separately via reports in the practice management. We track whether the prophylactic antibiotic has been given prior to incision or tourniquet start time. This is where you would see what a true allergy will look like. However, we do not block you from administering this medication should it still be appropriate for this patient. You may override it and administer it as the benefits outweigh the risks. You may also, if necessary, give a test dose if that is your center's policy. I'm going to go ahead and administer this medication. And any medication that is given where an override occurs also has a report over in practice management. Anesthesia care, this is your pre-check. These are the monitors that you're going to apply to the patient. This is the position which comes from the circulator's workflow. And you'll be able to check the boxes and make any notes that might apply. Induction of general anesthesia is its own block. You can use an LMA If you do not use an LMA and instead you pick an endotracheal tube, that size will come from your item master and it will drop to supplies used. So we're going to, in this case, we're going to pick that LMA. NA or any combination of the below choices are also available. Now we come to the intraoperative graph. This is where that planned anesthesia comes in. Can, of course, add a secondary anesthesia. Maybe you're going to give a post-op pain regional block. You could pick your temperature units. Your ASA score from your pre-assessment will populate here as well. If you have an interface to bring in your patient monitor data, this is where you would put that in. You also can pull in your anesthesia machine data. If you don't have an interface, you can put in the vital signs manually. What you're going to see first is a table on top of your graph. The table is where you would record gases and medications and other pertinent information not contained on the graph. If you wanted to change the gases that you want to measure, you can manage gases on the fly directly into your graph. So now you can monitor your end tidal as well as your percent SIBO and your oxygen. If you tap in a square, it will give you that square's time. You can enter the value of your oxygen. If you want to repeat that value through your total, you may tap on the square and save and exit. Tap on the square and save and exit. If you wanted to edit it, you can do that also and tap on the square, and it's going to complete that for you. If you tap on the word, it's going to give you the exact now time. So let's say we're going to do SIVO at 7. Again, you can edit that wherever you want. Depending on your policy, whether you want to fill it in each square, you can do as I said. Whether you're only going to fill it in when you change it, again, entirely up to your surgery center. The medications work much the same way. You can manage the medications that are displaying, and you could put them in the order that you want. We will tally the total medications for you. We also give you a feature to be able to administer a set of medications at the same time. So in this case, we're going to use Dr. Brock's induction set, and he's going to have the propofol and the lidocaine, and he's going to administer those together. They'll populate together, and the totals will begin on the right-hand side. You can also track your infusions, your temperature, your EtCO2, your SpO2, your level of consciousness if you are doing conscious sedation or MAC anesthesia and you want to record that, your EBL, your IV fluids, and your urine. What's interesting about this, your EBL goes immediately to the operative report. Your IV fluids, your urine output, fills out the intake and output block, so your PACU staff will automatically know how much fluid was given in the OR and what, if any, urine was the output in the OR as well. So I'm just going to pop over here and say that the total fluid we gave was 500, just so you could see that it will tally for you. If you have a respirator going for this patient, currently you can record these values. We are adding more and updating this for a future release. If you do not have a machine pulling in your vitals, or you want to add a set of vitals on your own, it is a very simple drag and drop. The green line that you see indicates the now time, and you'll be able to drag and drop your information directly on there. It will track those for you in a grid fashion, and you'll be able to see that as we go along. And as you noticed, it will give you the time and the value, which will change as you change. So you can be very precise in your information. Directly below the graph are the grids for the discrete data output that you are trending on the graph above. So your IV, your vital signs, your medications, your gases, they will all populate. And finally, there's the place for you to sign. You can get a signature history. Any user that participates in the care of this patient can sign as well. The notes can be dropped anywhere that you choose, and you can enter and save that note. Anyone who hovers over it will be able to see what the note says, and all the notes and events are tracked again in the grid below. This is where you would tap for anesthesia stop time. You can have a handoff block if you so choose, or this handoff can reside in the circulator's workflow if they're the ones who bring the patient or accompany the patient to PACU. Your post-op assessment, the procedure will fill in automatically once the circulating nurse confirms the procedure done, or you can type directly into that field. Your EBL that you entered above will automatically select below, and you can say whether or not there were complications or issues. You can also put in the block for PACU vital signs so that you can document the first set of vitals in PACU, and you can also continue to view that patient's PACU as before they are discharged. Since that information comes from a different workflow, you will have the purple triangle. You can add a notes block if you so choose. You can include your anesthesia quality measures. These quality measures can be printed as part of an anesthesia billing print set if you have anesthesia billing separate. If you have HST's anesthesia billing, this can print as part of the interface to the anesthesia billing system. And you can see the supplies used. It has the lidocaine, the propofol, and the cefzolin that we administered during this patient's stay. If you are following multiple patients, HST has the ability to pin however many patients you choose to the bottom toolbar to navigate between your patients without having to go back to the main schedule. You can very simply toggle between them. It will take you to your other case, to the last block that you left off in your previous case. And you can toggle back that simply back and forth between the two, and you'll be able to track the patient's vital signs. And that is when you can use this to navigate back up to your anesthesia orders block, where you can then sign off on the PACU orders. Excellent. You can see the signature history here. That is about the basics of the anesthesia workflow for the anesthesia providers. One more feature that HST eChart has is that you can, if necessary, see any changes that are made to your workflow by another user. So what I'm going to show you right here is, as I'm logged in real time, as another user, you'll be able to see the safety feature that we've put in place to notify all users of any changes. So you see here, I'm logged into the same patient. Here I am logged in as myself. Here I am logged in as the anesthesia provider. I'm going to go to my pre-op workflow. And I'm going to add an allergy. That the patient said their mom told them they were allergic to. On the right, you will immediately see a purple halo. The purple halo is an indication that another user has made a change that will affect my care of this patient. It will tell you who made the edit, and you get a little indicator that you must acknowledge. So it notified me in this block because this is where I would make a new anesthesia order, and it wanted me to know. But it's also going to notify me in the allergy block. In the prophylactic antibiotic block. So this information is now letting me know that if I change medications, if I order medications, so anywhere that I order or administer medications is going to be notified. This will happen in every block. Even if you had 2 anesthesia providers, for example, if you have your nurse anesthetist that's completing information at the same time as your supervising provider is entering information, you're going to see those things change in real time. So I'm going to go ahead and change the information on the graph. We're just going to go ahead and enter or change the anesthesia stop time. So right now it's 11:46. I'm going to change it till 12 o'clock noon. And you're going to see that retweet, anesthesia stop, we have an update. So anytime new vital signs are put in, if you're monitoring several rooms at the same time, they can all be down here at the bottom. You can toggle between those workflows and you'll get notification of any changes that happened. Because I changed the stop time, it automatically changed the staff times in the staff block for room out. This concludes the anesthesia workflow review in HST eChart. Thank you for listening.